How we doing, folks? Welcome back to the channel for another little film. Today it's a minger out there. It's horrible, really nasty weather, so we ain't going out doing any photography today. So I thought what I'd do is do a little follow-up film. Now I did a film a couple of months ago now, maybe a few months ago, and we made a walking stick. We made a thumbstick, and it's had loads of views. It's had 190 odd thousand views, which is just, I don't know, I can't get my head around it really. So I thought what I better do when I get chance is do a little follow-up film, just showing how we actually do the painting, because a few people have asked me, you know, about the painting side of it. The last film, it was all to do with how we actually made the thumbstick, so we're going to do a bit of painting today and show you how I go about it. All right. So the stick that we did a thumbstick. Now there's quite a few different types of thumbsticks you can make. There's the one like that, that's a deer antler one, and there's a natural thumbstick. No painting on these, and we made, I think it was hazel. We made a natural hazel one, didn't we? So it was that type of thing. So that's a natural V, and sanded down, and we put it onto a shank and we painted it. We put that, we did a roe deer on, didn't we? Now what I'm going to do today, this is one that I've made out of oak. Now it's on a hazel shank, and we're going to paint a robin on it. Dead simple. So this is how it started off life. It started off as a sawn blank that came from the sawmill, and we've just shaped it down. That's the next stage. We've got a couple of tips on there that we haven't shaped yet, and then we put it on there. So we've got a couple of nice, I don't know what they are, I think they're burr tips with a bit of black buffalo on there, and then we're gonna paint a robin on there. This is for a customer. Now one thing you've got to consider when you're painting on a thumbstick is the type of wood, because depending on what the actual picture is you're doing, you need a contrast. So I did a couple of wading poles recently, and one was a barn owl and the other one was a dipper. Now the dipper, with it being a dark bird, it was fine, you know, it was going to contrast against the timber. The barn owl, that's a different thing because it's completely pale. Now this is oak, and I know that when I've varnished the oak, it turns quite dark, so it's going to contrast really nicely against a bird like a barn owl. Now if it had been a piece of hazel like that, this tends to stay light, so it wouldn't have been as contrasty. So you might have had to put a little bit of a background just to make that actual you know, the bird pop, if you will. So that's something to consider. So just do a little test on a piece of whatever you're using for your thumbstick. Varnish it up. Have a look at how dark it's gone. You know, you might want to put 2 or 3 coats of varnish on. Ultimately, these will have 4 coats of varnish, and then they'll be varnished, you know, every 6 months, or depending on how much they are going to be used. You know, if it's just a show stick, well, it doesn't really need revarnishing, but if it's being used every day, it'll you know, maybe need revarnishing every few months. So it's just a consideration. That have a think about the type of wood that you're using, and the design obviously goes according to how dark the timber is going to be. All right, so this is what we're going to paint up today. I'm going to show you now what kind of paints we use. Nothing fancy at all. Now we use acrylics. Acrylics are plastic based, and they're great for this job. Any other kind of paint, I don't know. I've never tried anything else. Watercolours obviously no good at all. Enamels, hard to blend. These are perfect. Acrylics, like I said, they're plastic based. One thing with acrylics, they dry very, very quickly. Now if you're doing a big painting, I'll show you a piece that I did quite recently. So yeah, if you're doing something, you know, a bigger project, so that's a piece that I did. It's a bit of a tribute to Archibald Thorburn, famous Victorian artist who's an amazing wildlife artist. That's just painted on a piece of oak. But again, if you're doing something this kind of size, that's where you're going to need the stay wet palette. Otherwise, you're going to be using a lot of paint. But we're only doing a little project today. If you're doing a big painting, they do what's called a stay wet palette, which is effectively a shallow tray with a piece of absorbent, almost like blotting paper. You fill that with water, and then on the surface you have another piece of paper that's almost like greaseproof paper, and that's what you do your mixing on. When you finish your painting for the day, you put a lid on it and it retains that moisture inside, and it'll keep your paints fluid and liquid. So the next day you can come back, carry on painting, and all your paint hasn't gone hard. These are only small designs, they're dead quick to do. So all I do, I just mix them on the back of a plate, a ceramic plate, and have enough time to work with it, and you know, before it goes off. So these are the paints I use. I have a lot of different types. You don't have to go mad buying professional quality acrylic paints. These are Daily Roni, so that's a graduate. These are a little bit more expensive. You see it there. That's a Galeria acrylic. That's Winsor & Newton. I only got these ones because there's quite a bit more selection in the colour. You can get away with just getting a set of prime colours, but over the years I've built up, you know, quite a collection. So, you know, that's another smaller tubes. But yeah, acrylic paints. That's all we're going to use. Selection of brushes. Loads of little brushes. Again, nothing hard and fast. Just a selection of small paint brushes. Say small designs, small paint brushes, and you want that fine detail as well. So, what we'll do first, before we do any painting, we've obviously got to draw what our design is on the stick. I'll show you how we do that now. So as I said before, we're going to paint a robin on this one. Now, I've got the reference photo here. I've emailed it onto my phone. There we go. You see that? Don't know if you can make that out. But yeah, that's a photo I took last year. And we're going to paint that on. Now, one thing you have to consider when you're painting something like this, it's about the placement. So the actual design has to kind of complement the shape of the stick. So, you know, I know full well we've got that branch running up there, and we've got the bird, you know, quite round in the centre. So I'm thinking that should work out quite nicely. You know, the branch will run up there, and we can have the bird in the centre of the V. It's just a case of trying it. So we're just going to sit that up now, and we'll get our pencil out and we'll get it drawn on. Okay, so HB pencil or something quite soft. You want to make sure you get a decent mark on the timber. Now, we've got our little reference photograph there on our phone, and the way I generally do it, I kind of work in shapes. For anyone that's not really into drawing, it's a good way to start. So we want the position of the robin more or less central. So we have, if we look at that body shape there, we've got quite a nice big oval. So we can we'll put an oval on there. This is only very rough, so don't worry about, you know, making too many marks on the wood, because this will just rub out with a normal eraser. Whoop! Lost the phone. We'll put that under there for now. Okay, so again, we've another shape there that can be the head. We'll put the head shape there, and then what we're going to do, we're going to join these up in a minute. So then we've got the tail running that way in line with that V. The tail's going to come down there, one leg there, a leg up there, and then really all it's a case of doing is just joining them up and getting our shape. So If we look there, we can see that the line of the breast is just in front of the head, so that wants extending a little bit. All about getting the proportions right, so each segment has to be right in relation to the others. Oh, beak there, and then we've got our, we'll put our branch in, so our branch running down there. Look at the shape of the space, the negative space in between the legs. We'll try and replicate that and just put its right foot there and left foot there. And it doesn't really matter too much about that, you know, we can make it up, we can use a little bit of artistic license, so to speak. And then we'll just run that branch up there. That can just finish like that. With the tail. Very simple design, really. Important to get the position of the eye right. We can mess about with that after. Once we start putting some paint on, then we can move it around a little bit. It's not critical, really. All the pencil work is just a guide. So we'll put obviously the nape there, and then there's the breast, the orange breast of the robin, and then we can put the feather detail in. Not that there is a lot of detail on this picture, to be honest. We can put that in later with the paint. So there we have it. That is our design roughed out. Right, so we've got our basic design drawn out on the stick. What we need to do now is have a look at our reference photo, and we need to start getting some paint on our little mixing palette. So a plain white ceramic saucer. We're going to put the basic, we're going to put a bit of white down, and we don't need a lot. Don't go wasting your paint. You only need a little blob the size of your little finger, to be honest. And then what I tend to do, the paints that I've used, I just put them to one side, so that I'm not scratching through my box, looking through the same paints. That should do us. Chuck all them back in. We can get them on, and that's it. So that's our colour palette. There you can see little blobs of colour. It does go quite a long way, so don't go wasting your paint. All we have also is a little lid full of clean water, and we're just going to use clean this off, just a rag. And all that's for is after each colour we've mixed, we'll just mix it in the water, dry the brush off, and then we're ready to go with the next colour. Okay, so we're going to start painting. Now, what I tend to do, I'll tend to put me light colours in first. With acrylics, it's not critical, to be honest, because they do cover well. So what we'll do, we'll put a bit of white in on the breast. I'm just going to get my basic block colours in, then just wash your brush out. I have a second cup of water there. Just dry your brush, a little bit of water. I just want to put a little bit of black over there. Again, just wash that brush out, and then we're going to add a little bit of white to that, just to give us our grey. And it's an idea as well, when you're working on an area where the colours are blended, to work pretty quick, to be honest, because like I said before, the combination of the warmth in the room and the wood absorbing the paint does dry it quick. So you can see there we've got a nice blend between the grey and the white. And we can put a, you know, some little bit more, little bit of black in there just to darken that up, and then darken it up a little bit more, and then we're just going to do the top of the robin's head. A little bit more water, that's all we need to mix acrylic with, is fresh water. I'm going to change that brush because it's starting to splay a bit. That's no good. We can add a little bit of brown to that if we want. Okay, so we've got most of the bird done. Need to have a look at the eye. The eye needs a little bit of work, but while that's drying, we don't want to do any work on the eye while the breast colour is still drying. We want this to be completely dry. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to work on the branch that the bird sat on. By the time we've got the branch painted, this should be dry. We can sort the eye out, pop a little highlight in it, and we should be done. So we've got a bit of brown. We'll get the underneath of the branch done first. Important not to forget about shadows and highlights. Really important, because obviously the light's bouncing off the top of this branch, and the bottom is in shadow. Basic stuff really, but makes all the difference to a painting. Nice dark areas in there. Up the branch. Again, a little bit of artistic license. It's as Bob Ross used to say. Now he could paint. We'll get a bit of green in. Mix it with a little bit of light olive. All we're going to do now, clean our brush off. No water again. Tiniest blob of white on the end. And then all we're going to do, we're just going to drop that highlight in on the eye. And that's it. There we go. I think that makes all the difference. And that's it. Spin that round. There you go. There's our little robin. We'll just get you in focus. There we go. Now we're going to just let that dry, and then what we'll do, we'll get our rubber, we'll rub all these bits of pencil off, and then we're going to varnish it. Another little thumbstick done. Right, we've given that a bit of time now. Paint's completely dry. Just focus on there we go. So yeah, the paint's dry. All we're going to do now, those little tiny marks, those little pencil marks, we're just going to rub them out. Don't go too mad with it. But I'm happy with that. I'm happy there with our little robin. Now what we're going to do, we're going to get some varnish on and just show you how it comes alive. Right, we're ready for a bit of varnish. So we've got an outdoor waterproof clear satin varnish. That's it there. Other brands are available, and that's the stuff I use. So what I tend to do, I tend to give it about 3 or 4 coats really, minimum. If it's a shore stick, they obviously don't need as much because they're, you know, they're never going to go outside, are they? So give your varnish a good stir. Make sure you're happy with that, because once it's varnished, it ain't changing. So make sure you've rubbed off all them pencil marks. Yep, it's as smooth as you like, and we'll get a bit of, we'll get some of this glossy stuff on it. So you'll see when we add that to it, I think you'll agree. That looks pretty cool. And that's it. That's how we paint a thumbstick. Simple as that. Just take your time. You know, make sure the design actually complements the stick. You know, foxes, badgers, dogs, they really lend themselves to being painted on here, because you know, their ears are up either side, and you can have the, you know, the faces obviously in the middle. So yeah, they're a great subject to paint on these. Birds with the wings open again, you know, that form that V. They can be a great little subject. But yeah, that's it. It's as simple as that. I mean, the beauty of this as well, once you've drawn it on, if it's not right, you just rub it out, don't you? Have another go. And try working in them shapes like I did. I started with that oval shape, another little circle for the head, and then just get all your angles right. Have a play around with it. Practice on paper first. You know, if you're not an artist, but you're a good stick maker, just have a practice on paper, and then once you've cracked it, get it on the timber. So there we go. That's it. That's our little follow-up video to our very successful making a thumbstick video. So we just thought we'd combine the two. If you've enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up. Maybe think of subscribing. Share it. You know the score. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out there.